In the beginning of the episode we see, elsewhere in the world, Garu is walking through a beast-man town, and as the beast hero, everyone here is fawning over him. In fact, this one dude in the back even offers to pimp out his own sister, but Garu isn't interested right now. Just then, he spots a poor human sifting through the trash for something to eat, and this kid was nowhere near Garu, but he decides to take a detour just so he can knock the child to the ground and spit on his face for fun. Afterwards, Garu and his team of lackeys head to a private room so they can begin glazing him. Figuratively, of course. They tell him they think it's amazing that he went from a poor beast slum child to the front runner to become the next chief. Even the current village chief has acknowledged his power, so they ask him how he managed to get this far. Garu brags that he just uses his instincts to pick out the best jobs for himself, like that one he took 3 years ago. He got paid a lot to pretend to be part of a race unification party, and all he had to do was finish off a human who was suspected of being a master. He never actually confirmed whether Light was dead or not, but with how weak he was, there's no way he could have survived down there on his own, so he thinks it'd be best to just forget about the brat. However, a moment later May walks into the room asking about Light. Garu's lackeys yell that she has no right to speak to him like that, but Garu says it's fine because he would like to hear what business she has with him. May explains that she is a maid serving Lord Light, and she makes up a story claiming that Light is of noble blood and she has been searching all over the continent for him. Garu is skeptical since the people who hired him for that mission did a thorough background check on Light, and Light himself never mentioned anything about being a noble, but May definitely looks like a rich noble's maid, so he sees this as a good opportunity to make some cash. He asks her what she wants with him, so May says that she recently discovered that Light supposedly passed away in the dungeon 3 years ago, so she would like Garu to lead her to his last known location so she can pay her respects. She even offers to pay him in solid gold for the trouble, but Garu's senses are warning him that this whole thing is a trap. It seems way too fishy that she's willing to pay so much just for them to lead her into the dungeon, but since May looks like an ordinary human female, Garu brushes off. He agrees to lead her to Light's last known location, but he says he's not doing this for the money, he's doing this because Light was a good friend of his, and he wants to help out in any way he can. May knows that everything he just said is complete BS, but she has to stay in character, so she thanks him. And a month later, the group is closing in on the spotlight went missing. However, Garu has no intention of actually fulfilling the terms of the agreement, so as soon as they get there, he plans to attack May and let her die the same way Light did. Once they arrive at the spot, May falls to her knees in despair at the thought of how hopeless Light must have felt back then. Meanwhile, Garu tries to spin a story about Light getting attacked by a monster and falling into a teleportation trap before anyone could save him. But as he is speaking, several of his men begin blocking off the exit so May won't be able to escape once they attack. They are just about to pounce on her. But May suddenly says that if only she had been with Light from the start, then he wouldn't have been tricked and betrayed by such lowlives. As soon as he hears her say that, Garu panics and backs away because no one aside from the other conquered party members and the higher-ups know about what really happened here. He demands to know how she found out about that and accuses her of being a spy from one of the other races, but May feels insulted by that statement. She is and will always be a maid dedicated to serving Lord Light with all her being, and for Garu to suggest that she is anything is a crime punishable by death. Garu feels a terrifying pressure coming from May, and even though she's just a human, his instincts are telling him to get the hell out of here right now. However, just as May was able to lose her cool and plaster the wall with beastmen blood, Light shows up and tells her to stop because Garu is his prey to deal with. Garu and his men were stunned, none of them had heard Light approaching. Garu couldn't believe his eyes, he hadn't even considered the possibility that Light could have survived. Light Casual says he is back to get his revenge, but Garu begins to laugh because he thinks it's hilarious that a level 15 human like Light thinks he is strong enough to get revenge on someone like him who is level 150. Garu has no idea how Light managed to make it this far, but he's sure he's not alone. Garu is sure that if he kills Light and brings him back now, then he will be promoted to chief in no time. Light sighs and asks him if he's really not going to ask him how he managed to survive before resorting to violence, but Garu just assumes Light got lucky and was saved by May after he was teleported, which is actually exactly what happened. Garu orders his men to attack Light, so two immediately charge forward to strike, but before they could get too close, their heads are suddenly divorced from their bodies by May. Garu's remaining men couldn't even keep track of May's movements, so they are starting to freak out, but Garu tells them to calm down because he's sure that was just a fluke. Meanwhile, Light thanks May for taking the initiative to protect him, but he says he can handle things on his own from here, so he just wants her to guard the exit and make sure no one leaves. Garu tells his men there's no need to worry because they can't possibly lose to a pair of inferior humans, but Light is starting to get sick of listening to Garu go on and on about how he is so much better than humans when in reality, he is the weak one here. Garu doesn't believe that for even 1 second, because it is well known that all humans are weak and have little mana compared to the other races, so they could never be weaker than Light. If that's what he truly believes, then Light asks him why two of his men have their heads rolling on the floor if they are all stronger than him, but Garu just dismisses that as a careless mistake. He and his goons then proceed to jump at Light, so he calmly closes his eyes and proceeds to dog walk them while barely lifting a finger. Garu falls to the ground wide-eyed because he just got hit harder than ever before, and he couldn't even see it coming. Light stands over his body and asks him if this is really the best he and his so-called superior race can accomplish, but Garu can't stand the fact that Light is looking down on him, so he decides to use his trump card and smashes a necklace to the ground, summoning a level 500 Fenrir to take care of Light for him. He proudly yells that this is the end of the road for Light, but Light tells him that level 500 is still way too weak to be a challenge for him. Garu thinks Light must have gone insane from fear. There's no way he could possibly defeat a Fenrir on his own. He tells him to get down on his knees and beg if he wants a painless death. Light can see that the power difference here hasn't sunk in yet, so he sets his staff aside and tells Garu he won't move from this spot, so he is free to hit him with his best attack. Garu is still convinced that Light must be bluffing, so he charges up his Fenrir's Howling Beast Blast and hits Light with enough energy to vigorize a small fortress. However, when the dust settles, Light is still standing, unharmed, and unmoved. He thinks it's a little embarrassing that Garu was bragging so much about an attack that barely did anything. He also thinks it's weird that Garu keeps calling his summon a Fenrir when it's barely strong enough to be classified as a Fenrir puppy. He then pulls out a summon card and says he will show Garu what a real Fenrir looks like right before summoning a wolf god. This is a level 9000 Fenrir that goes beyond anything Garu has ever seen in his life, and after Light orders it to take care of Garu's summon, it literally just blows some air in the direction of Garu's wolf, and it is suddenly frozen in a block of ice. Seeing Light casually pull out a wolf that was able to note if his summon finally makes Garu realize how screwed he is, but Light tells him the wolf god was just for show because he could have taken care of Garu's summon on his own if he had wanted. And to make the difference in strength absolutely clear, Light enables his status screen to show Garu that he is currently level 9999. He is absolutely terrified now because he didn't even know levels could go up that high, and he is starting to think that Light is an imposter. But it's not like it matters whether this is the real Light or not since he's definitely going to kill Garu with things are going. He throws down his weapons and his pride and begins begging Light to spare his life. He says he was just following his country's orders and he never would have betrayed him otherwise. He looks up, hoping that Light will have mercy on him. But before any of that, Light says he has a few questions for Garu. First he asks him about the masters that his higher-ups asked him to find, but Garu says he doesn't actually know what they are. Light then asks him why those same higher-ups ordered Garu and the others to kill him after confirming that Light wasn't a master, but Garu really doesn't have any information, he just did as he was told. Light then asks the rest of the beast men if they know anything about the masters and they all lie that they do in hopes of getting Light to spare them, but in the next moment, May slices them all to bits for daring to state falsehoods in front of Lord Light. Light then turns back to Garu and says he has one final question to ask, but in case he was thinking about lying, he should know that May's eye of judgment can tell whether he is being honest or not, and he won't like what happens if she finds out he is lying. Since Garu's intuition is so sharp, Light asks him if he thinks it would be possible to win a war against the surface nations as he is now. Garu gulps in hesitation, but he eventually tells Light that his incredible strength would certainly give him an advantage early on in the battle, but he would eventually lose. He is still only one person, so winning an entire war against nations that have countless soldiers, weapons, and items at their disposal would be practically impossible. Garu thinks Light will be upset by the answer he just gave, but Light can tell that Garu is telling the truth and he already expected as much. However, he says there is something he wants to show Garu, so he pulls out a teleport card and transports both Garu and Mei to the throne room. Garu covers his head in fear because he doesn't know what Light has planned for him, but when he opens his eyes he is left speechless as he sees Light's army in all their glory. Light walks up to his throne, and once he is there he asks all of his subordinates to display their levels so Garu can see how powerful they truly are. To Garu's horror, he finds out that most of Light's army is above level 5000 and even the weakest ones are still level 1500. Now that Garu has seen his true military power, Light asks him if it would be possible to win a war against the surface with an army like this, and the look on his face tells Light all he needs to know. Now that he has confirmed that he can win as a reward, Light says he will forgive Garu for all the pain he caused back then. Light says he is going to put Garu through constant suffering that will make him beg for death, and Garu knows there is nothing he can do about it, because at this point Light might as well be a god of destruction. If you liked this video, hit the subscribe button.